Hi there, 神麦老师 back with you, Teacher Michael. And today I'm going to talk about the notion of feedback. Now, feedback is something that I think most of us take for granted about how to do it well. We think we understand what is useful and what is not so useful. But I would like to present the idea that actually feedback is also very culturally specific. And what Chinese people think is good feedback and what Westerners think is good feedback may be different. And by Westerners, I'm saying myself as a Canadian. And again, this is just my opinion. What I say about Chinese people here could be wrong, just my experience. Anyway, now, some years ago, I was learning Tai Chi in Canada from a Malaysian Chinese. And he showed me, some things. And so I thought, oh yeah, I know what Tai Chi is. Tai Chi Chuan, right? And then later I was with Chinese people, actually in Taiwan, and I was learning Tai Chi there. And I was doing my thing, with my hands and this and that. And the Chinese people would come over and say, oh, 转腰, 转腰. You should do it this way, 转腰. That was always the big thing, turn your waist. And I would always say, oh no, I'm doing it, my own way. I'm doing it, this is how I want to do it. And they would say, oh, that's nice, but it's wrong. They would smile and they were nice and say, oh, it's wrong. Every day, people telling me, no, that's wrong. I found that really annoying and frustrating. And finally, I asked somebody in the group, and I just said, can't I just do it my own way? And I want to express myself. And this gentleman said to me, for us, until you have really mastered it, you would have nothing that you would be worth expressing. So that is a very different for a Westerner to hear that, because, in the West, we take it for granted that my experience is valuable, my unique experience. Now, what I have here is a screen capture from a WeChat, from Weixin, a conversation with a very nice Chinese person. I won't say her name right now, but very kind and generous with her ideas and feedback. And I want to just use this as a little example to talk about feedback from Chinese people. Because this is not the first feedback she gave me. The first time I asked her about what should I do with my video channel with a Chinese audience. And she gave me criticism. She said, oh, this isn't very good. This isn't very good. You're it's not exciting enough. The sound isn't good enough. And, some other things. And she didn't say anything good. So I wrote back to her and said, what? Did I do everything wrong? So now she has something more complimentary. And I found, that's really interesting. And it's not so much that I need, that it hurt my feelings that she said nothing good. But for me, it's like it makes sense that we want to say something good. Now, I just want to show you, that this is actually a very common idea. This picture of the feedback sandwich is more like what we in the West, we say this is ideally how you should give feedback. Like, let's say you're the boss, you're talking to the employee and you say, I need to give that person some feedback. I need to tell them how they're doing. So the sandwich idea is that first you say something like nice, and at the end you say something nice. That's the bread. And then in the middle, constructive feedback. This is a little euphemism. You're not going to tell them they're an idiot. And the idea that you're telling them that this is the part that needs to be improved. We don't say, tell the person what's wrong. Like, Westerners do not like that language. Westerners will resist. If you tell them they are wrong, we will resist that. And to some extent, it's our ego that's true. But in another sense, it's logical that we should tell the person what is working, because that's what we want. We want more of what is working. So it should be actually, at least part of the question, not just, no, 这个错了, 这个错了, 这个错了. No. But many Chinese people are so brilliant and so good at what you do. I can't criticize too much, like if that works for you, right? And obviously, it does work for you. Some people are so good at so many things, right? Anyway, I want to just say it's different. So this is the feedback sandwich. And then over here actually is another kind of feedback. There was a guy named Edward de Bono, D-E-B-O-N-O, and he came up with the idea of lateral thinking, L-A-T-E-R-A-L, lateral, and that means off to the side. So it means not directly, but off to the side. And it is a technique of creative thinking. And it's actually based on the brain, that in the brain, we can say I'm going from A to B. And sometimes we get stuck, like, oh, I can't think of a way to do this. Go from A to B. And so if you tell the brain, oh, think of point C, and then you go A, C, B. That's lateral thinking. Very interesting technique. This can be called a thinking protocol. Now, one of them is what he calls PMI, plus, minus, interesting. Now, this will be a surprise for you, I think, because this is thinking for the sake of thinking as a skill, and it's not even necessarily thinking about a practical thing. It's just thinking by itself. So, for example, by law is the proposition. By law, all cars should be painted yellow. That's the idea. Now, in this thinking skill practice, you come up with, well, what would be good about that? Okay, yellow cars are easier to see at night, so there would be fewer accidents. You just sort of force yourself to think of something good about this idea that all cars should be yellow. Then the minus, it would be boring. It would, and whatever reason, people would not want to buy them or whatever. Interesting is just, it makes you think of something else. So for example, like, do people drive different color cars differently? That's kind of an interesting question, right? I've seen, for example, that people that drive red cars spend more on insurance because they are more likely to have accidents because red is exciting. And so that's interesting. Okay, it's just a random thought. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about this feedback that I got from this person, because sure enough, she said, I watched your video and really liked it. Okay, but to say that you like it is not very useful yet, right? Because it's not specific. The idea is right. Viewers will enjoy interesting topics combining entertainment and education. Okay, that is useful to me. That the concept is good. Okay, so that's a positive. Then she gave quite a lot of what I could improve. Say more about the English part or the Western part. Subtitles could be smaller. Titles should be in Chinese. These are all really good suggestions. There are many things on Bilibili. I don't want to be like everybody on Bilibili. I'm not looking for 1 million viewers. I'm looking for, 10,000 really good viewers. People like you, people that are smart, and you want to learn not only English but ideas and compare them to, Chinese ideas. And I'm just going to go down to this bottom one, this black one, because actually she did give just interesting, which is kind of just, random. And random ideas often are very, very useful. That's why the I, if you try this technique, P, M, and I, it's really, really often opens up some possibility. For example, here, I could talk about Russia. as this is something people are interested in. And most Chinese people support Russia, so they would be curious. I think that is an awesome idea. And I'm very interested in Russia too. I'm not the average Canadian, so maybe I'll do that. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to say just about feedback. So, what do you think about feedback? Do you like only criticism, even if it's very specific? And is that what you have received as a Chinese person? Have you ever had this feedback sandwich? Do you think that's a good idea? And what do you think of this plus, minus, and interesting? Is just a random interesting idea useful? Or is that just kind of weird? What do you think? Okay, good. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you in the next one. 再见吧。